Dispatching all biters. My quest to free the country of zombies. By Mystic Alchemist. Copyright 2020 Mystic Alchemist. All rights reserved. Written in Australian English. This book is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places and incidents are either a product of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual people living or dead, events or locales is purely coincidental. Chapter 10. Millbrook. There was no way to avoid the town. No side roads and no bypass. I did slow to obey the speed limit, but not below, Nigel's truck keeping close behind me. Everywhere I looked was trouble that always resolved itself to something normal. A police car became a taxi. A man with a gun was an advertising sign. A cream truck was really a horse trailer parked. And a pile of bodies lined up was a pile of bodies lined up, and the two men carrying more were two men in black carrying a body. My heart was pounding and my hands were slipping on the steering wheel. I saw Nigel's truck very close behind me and I saw both them glancing too. We needed somewhere to hide. Once they saw, they'd be out looking for us, and in this bare flat country hiding places were hard to come by. And then it wasn't a mechanic business. Large metal shed with old trucks in pieces scattered around and 3 entrance doors open, wide enough for us to drive through. I was slowing and driving into that place before I thought more, stopping inside enough so I'd be able to close the doors, if this shed had doors. Nigel was alongside me, getting down and making for where the door should be. Electric, he said to me, we'll need to work these chains but they'll be noisy. It sounded like 1,000 motors pounding on the metal sides as he worked the chain that slowly pulled the door down. I tried the one on my side and it was no quieter. When we'd closed both doors, the sudden quiet was deafening and we both stood panting and looking at each other stupidly. This is a great place, Nigel said, Geraldine the brave scouting around the area while we both caught our breath. We should leave the other door open so they don't suspect. If we stay a while I should change the oil in both our vehicles, they've got all the parts and tools. There's a bathroom back out that doesn't stink, Geraldine said when she returned from her reconnoiter. We could stay for the night if we had to. I was thinking the same. Are we going to get those 2 men? I'd thought this was their base but now I think that truck was only picking up some more bodies and going on, I said. So we should finish the job, Geraldine said, sounding more like an army general than a 10-year-old girl. 3 against 2. They will have guns and they killed all those undead, Nigel said, and they had those black uniforms. We'll have to wait till they're bursting, Geraldine said, and that made us all laugh. She might be right, I said, we should at least try to spy on them and then decide. Be better than sitting here waiting for them to find us. I made to find our weapons, stuffing that pistol I found into my pants for the first time. Now I knew what lever to press. I thought it would be good to have for insurance. 2 screwdrivers through my belt and my axe in hand, I was ready. Geraldine had her rifle slung over her back and a long metal tool in her hand. There's a long knife in my car, I said, and she added that. Nigel had his rifle and pry bar. We were ready to face the undead hordes. The walk back to where I'd seen those men was further than I remembered. All the way we saw no one outside at all, and no signs of undead in the houses. I guessed these men had killed everyone to clean up this town for whoever was coming to take them over. That pile of bodies on the road was in sight but no sign of those men. We'd been walking in line along the pavement, keeping close to the building side, and now we were close enough for those buildings to be businesses of some sort. Still no sign of others. I stopped, my hands to my lips and us 3 all motionless. The background sounds of the town so faint, but the longer I stopped the clearer they came. That was a car door closing. I turned to identify the direction but Nigel had a finger pointing to the other side of the road and still ahead. I bent my head and nodded and we took off to get across the road. Now the motor was purring and there was another door slam, closer this time. Cross street ahead, the obvious place and nothing offering cover between. I saw Geraldine testing a door, the door opening and her slipping inside. Nigel next and I came last. It was an office of some sort. No sign or smell of company. The cream pickup drove past the moment I had the door closed, but the two inside weren't bothering, both staring ahead, the engine picking up speed. No speed police here. They were going after us, Nigel said as we ventured back to the roadway. We might as well see what they left. Tied in black cord to one of the bodies was a plastic-sleeved sheet. Nigel ripped it off and began to read it, then without commenting, passed it to me. Partly printed with the answers added in pen. Everglade Processing Center. Infected 41. Deceased 2. We were heading to the center of the storm. We're going to need serious artillery, Nigel said as we wandered back toward where we'd left the vehicles. The odds on this quest are getting lower by the day, I said. The police. Geraldine said suddenly, they always have the best shooters. She's right, Nigel said. They'll be locked up, I said. But you could use your magic axe, Geraldine the Brave said. I stopped walking. It took a girl to remind me a quest is never ended until it's over, regardless of the odds against you. A true quester never stopped. Did anyone see a police station? A street sign directed right to it. Only a small country outpost, a house part of the lockup and a police van parked out back. No option but the direct approach, 3 of us close together making for the main front door. Locked. Try the back next, I said, moving around the side near the parked car. Locked as well, but Nigel had the door of the police car open and was searching. Plenty of cuffs but no guns, he said while I waited for him to finish. Nothing for it but the axe. I was worried about the noise, and there was plenty of that, it taking 4 attempts to finally open the door, and inside was an unwelcome obstacle and it was still wearing his police uniform and gun in his holster. Hiss, he said. Hiss hiss. Nigel's bar through his face stopped his hissing and Geraldine took his gun and looked to be trying to undo his holster. Nigel helped pulling the belt under his prone body then fitting it around Geraldine's waist. It was too big for her, but she strutted from side to side, trying to draw like in cowboy films. Make my day, she said as she pretended to aim the gun at the body. I found a locked cabinet on the wall. Surely the gun cabinet. Only a small thump with my axe had it open and 3 rifle-style guns were in the rack. I looked for something to carry our loot while Nigel and Geraldine enthused over the guns. They ended having to carry them by hand, but I did find a couple of shopping bags to carry the boxes of ammunition and extra pistol that were in the bottom of the cabinet. Let's go, I said, we've been here too long. Loaded. The walk back took longer than I thought but the others still seemed on a high from their haul. 2 12-gauge semi-auto shotguns and a 223 rifle with scope, that's what Nigel pronounced. That was as well as the 2 9mm pistols and ammunition for everything. We could really fight other trucks now, Geraldine said, sounding like she always thought she would be in the military and Nigel backing up her every pronouncement. What's your plan now, Axe? Nigel said. Wait till those come back. At least stay the night so we start back into this flat land with a full day to go. It was a few hours of sorting the freight in our rides, then food while the mechanic checked the vehicles, changing some oil and adding extra bits. Good for many more battles, he said when we were all sitting in this oily workshop eating cardboard tasting instant meals and soft chocolate. We improvised a bedroom in their staff kitchen. Bales of cleaning cloths scattered on the floor for a mattress and sheets of plastic bubble wrap for blankets. For the first time we all slept together, Geraldine snuggled between us, guns close alongside for the night. Every time I woke in the night we were still tight together. Once I had her hair in my mouth and a foot in my groin. Another time it was her cheek against my mouth, and then it was Nigel's arm over her and holding my side. Even though we smelled like we hadn't washed for days, it was the best sleep I'd had on this trip. We were all awake and looking at each other and no one wanted to get up. I knew I should take the lead. Who wants breakfast in bed? The laughter brought us all up and looking for the chips. I'm sure we should be eating better, but since the world seems to be ending, the pressure for a good diet wasn't very high. Still heading for Everglade, Nigel asked when the breakfast had shifted to caramel-scented chocolate. The quest remains, although now the quest has even more reasons to succeed. The chains to open the doors seemed even louder in the still morning air, the noise making us move it even faster. Geraldine the Brave standing in the entrance looking out, hand on the gun on her waist until it was time for her to slip into the passenger side of Nigel's truck, and we were making our way back onto the highway toward Everglade. Only 2 tiny settlements passed in the 2 hours we drove until I called the first break. Another highway rest area, but no cars this time, only a small metal restroom. With the touring atlas spread on the sole picnic table, I studied where we'd been and where we had still to go. Millbrook was clearly marked. The 2 tiny towns were just black dots, but the good thing was that after about the same distance we'd covered this morning, it looked like we were going to leave this flat country. After that there were more towns closer together, but as well as more trouble, it also made many more places to hide. The other 2 were pretending they were attacking the restroom, sneaking toward it, then bursting in and spraying it with their pistols. I thought I better get some practice too. When we set off again I was keyed up from the games, it had really been great fun. After I thought that was why I wasn't paying attention so much, but then what could I have done differently?